Welcome to this rune magic video where we're going to be talking about bind runes, what they are, how to create them, and at the end of the video I'll be sharing some ideas on how you can use them as well. So let's begin. So what are bind runes, or also known as rune staves? So bind runes are magical sigils or symbols that are created by combining two or more runes into one symbol design. Personally, I work with the Elder Futhark rune alphabet. There are other runic alphabets out there that you can work with, but for me, the Elder Futhark is the one that resonates, and that's the one we're going to be focusing on here. If you research the internet, you will often find the Elder Futhark runes being associated with the Viking era, and that is actually incorrect. During the Viking era, the most commonly used rune alphabet was actually the one known as the Younger Futhark, which only has 16 characters. This is just a general misconception on the internet, and so I just want to make that distinction here, that the Elder Futhark runes actually predate the Viking era by around 800 years. So historically speaking, we have very little accounts of the Elder Futhark runes. In fact, in academic circles, this alphabet is only viewed as such, as an alphabet. Historically and academically, they're not ascribed any type of magical or divination types of powers. The historical accounts that we have of the Elder Futhark runes come from the Kulverstone or Kulverstenen, which is Swedish, as that is where it was found. Basically, it's a very rudimentary inscription into the stone of the 24 characters that we nowadays has named the Elder Futhark runes, which is a series of 24 symbols, each representing a character in the alphabet, but also associated with a certain energetic or vibration that many use for divination in esoteric circles. But there are many other ways that you can use the energies of the Elder Futhark runes, besides from doing divination practice and attempting to predict the future. I personally use the runes more for calling in their energies, for setting intentions, and like a prayer, sort of trying to influence things in my situation and the outcome of that, rather than trying to predict what the future will bring. In my previous bind rune video, we were working with the Bounce It Back bind rune, which is about protection of you and your person. In this video's bind rune design, we're going to focus on a defense and home protection sigil, which extends the protective effect to focus on your property, including your home, your family, your animals, and all your stuff. This bind rune we're going to be working with today is inspired by a known home protection bind rune design, where I have personalized this design by intentionally extending it to include a few more runes. The known home protection rune design consists of Othala, the home rune, and Tiwaz, the warrior rune, in its original design. However, in my version here, I've tried to boost that energy, to add a bit more of both defense and protection to it by intentionally adding the extra Tiwaz. So we have two of the defense warrior rune, as well as Algiz, which is more about divine protection, and we have the Thurisaz rune, which is a very powerful rune that actually helps boost all of the other runes included. But it also has a darkness to it, this rune, so we want to use it with care. So this causes for some extra defense, some extra energetic protection within this symbol, and of course also making it unique to what you will find out there otherwise. Although I do feel like saying, I don't think that anybody can really patent or own any of these ancient symbols or their combination, and I believe that it is everybody's heritage and right to use them. So Othala, Tiwaz, Algiz, and Thurisaz are the 4 runes that are intentionally combined into this bind rune. However, I find that with any bind rune design that I create, that there are always several bonus runes that happen to be able to be found within each of these designs. And this one is really powerful and special in that regard, as we're able to find within it 17 out of the total of 24 characters in the Elder Futhark rune alphabet, which makes this a very powerful bind rune sigil. As we have Othala, Tiwaz, Algiz, Thurisaz, Isa, Ingwash, Sowilu, Ansus, Nautis, Kenash, Wunju, Raito, Fehu, Gebo, Jera, Bergana, and Lagus. Now what does that all mean? Othala is the home rune. It represents our sacred heritage, our homeland, and our ancestry. It's also the final 24th in the Elder Futhark sequence, thus completing the cycle. So it's like a homecoming of the hero's journey, as well as an omen for a new cycle to begin. Tiwaz is the rune of justice, honor, and courage. It's the rune that embodies the warrior spirit, and thus we're using it here as a defense. It is the arrow that bounces back whatever is energetically sent your way. Algiz is the rune of divine protection and sanctuary. It is about our spiritual and emotional connection to the divine. It symbolizes awakening and heightened intuition. Thurisaz is a powerful rune of protection, strength, and resistance. But it is a double-edged rune in its duality between defense and protection versus challenges through change and chaos. Isa is the rune of ice. Esoterically, it is stasis and stillness, but it is also a truly centered identity. It is a healthy ego, someone who no longer is dependent on others. It is the ability to provide for oneself, true individuality. Ingwash is the seed, ready to sprout and grow into its potential. It is fertility, virility, and growth. Sowilu is the rune of the sun and the soul. It is strength, vitality, health, and wholeness. It represents motivation, achievement, success, and victory. Ansus is the god mouth rune. It is the rune of insights, of communication, of wisdom, of inspiration, and of the ability to listen. Nautis is the rune of necessity and constraint. It teaches us resilience and how to find strength in our hardships and limitations. Kenash is the torch of inner illumination. It's knowledge through experience and ability. It's understanding and insight. It's inspiration, creativity, and clarity. Wunju is the rune of joy, peace, and perfection. It's an omen of a time of harmony and prosperity, of feeling secure, connected, and aligned with yourself and your community. Raito is the rune of journeys, travel, and movement. It's also about progress and direction. It represents the rhythm of life, right actions, and walking our true path. Fehu is the rune of wealth, sustenance, and abundance. It's about our possessions, about prosperity and luck, but it's also about improving and evolving, about satisfaction after taking action. Gebo is the rune of balance and of sacred exchange, of giving and receiving. It's about fair and equal exchange of energy, of give and take, of generosity and fair exchanges. Jera is the rune of harvest and rewards. It's about the cycles of time and nature. It represents the fruit of persistence, the reward of the efforts we apply. Berkana is the feminine goddess rune of fertility and healing. It represents rebirth, new beginnings, nurturing energies, growth and renewal. And finally, Lagos is the rune of water and our subconscious. It represents our memory and depth of emotions, teaching us adaptability to flow with the cycles of life and our intuition. Now that's a lot of runic energies that are combined into this one design, thus making it more than just a simple home protection sigil. There are many ways that you can work with bind runes. Of course, you can write them on a paper card like a talisman that you can carry around on your person or place in your environment. You can engrave it into jewelry or into little talismans or totem objects that you can use on your person or in your ritual practice. You can place it on your altar or in your environment and imbue it with certain meanings to remind you of whatever themes you are working with. Since this is a home protection bind rune that we're working with today, I highly recommend using it in your home. You can place them on your altar, or you can use these home protection talismans by placing them in your doorways and windows. Another great way to use these home protection bind runes is to draw them in the air as you are smudging in your doorways and windows. Another way is to draw them in the dirt around the perimeter of your property, particularly in the entryways. Talking more in general about the use of bind runes, if you have a wish for the universe, if you want to set intentions, if you're working towards a certain goal, you can draw your bind rune design in the sand on the beach or in the dirt somewhere in nature and allow Mother Earth and the great transmutive power of water to take part in the magic process. You can chant the runes to bring in their energies into your experience. You can do rune meditations where you meditate on an individual rune. There are endless ways that you can work with bind runes. Really, only your imagination sets the limitations here. So be creative and let me know in the comments if you have any other great ideas on how to work with bind runes. If you want to learn more about the Elder Futhark runes, there is an article on my blog. The link is in the description. I hope this home protection rune design will keep you and your home protected and safe from negative energies, black magic, and any other type of energy vampires or negativity that comes your way. May you stay safe, protected, and in your creative flow. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you.